Well, the cold and wet weather has definitely arrived in the UK, which doesn't really come as much of a surprise to anyone, but it's cold enough in here that I can see my breath. Nonetheless, I must carry on because I've got a 650 Triumph to build. Now, last week we got our brake light and our mudguard attached, and that's grand. It's looking pretty cool now. But I didn't get round to mounting the oil tank or restoring the battery holder. So those are jobs I need to focus on today. But I did also say to you guys that there might be a little engine job that we need to do, which will be the very first engine job we've done in this series, and it's nothing serious, but nonetheless it needs doing. Because in about a month or so, I'm hoping that I will have a complete motor to go back in here. So we need to start tackling some of those smaller jobs in order to make life easier for the rebuild. So first and foremost, a big thank you to you guys for all the comments I received on last week's videos. It was substantially more than usual, and I really enjoyed going through them, reading them all, and yeah, thank you guys for actually taking the time to watch and then leave a little comment and tell me what you think. I really appreciate it. There is a special thanks, and that will be going to my mate Dean from Retro Mechanica. Now, Dean I met through YouTube. He is also a YouTuber and does British bike stuff. A very smart man indeed. Now, he left a comment saying to go across and deburr any holes I've drilled in the aluminium, which I did for fitting the mudguard, but not for the brake light. But what he pointed out is that any sharp edges will basically create fatigue, and I can end up with little cracks and stress fractures, things like that. Thank you, Dean, for that. I appreciate the heads up. It saves me cracking a mudguard down the road. Now, on to things to do today. Well, as I said, we're going to be starting off with an engine job. In the background, I am in the process of getting a crank regrind and also a rebore, so that when it comes to doing our engine, hopefully we've got the parts there, and engineering processes that I can't do or Rick can't do are done. But there are still some parts that need a little bit of prep. And one of those parts is our rocker boxes. So obviously the bike had been sat in the garden for 10 years. There's a lot of moisture that's got around, a lot of seizures going on. One of the things we've got seized is our rocker box caps. Now, I've managed to get one of those off, and Rick and I have had a pretty good go at getting these out undamaged. That's not going to happen. This stuff here, I believe, is Mazak, which is like what the AML carburetors are made out of. It can be very brittle. These are seized solid. I've tried a little bit of heat, I've tried pipe grips, I've tried a chisel. Nothing will get them out. So I asked Rick, I said, what do you reckon is the best thing to do? And he said, cut the cap off and collapse them in the thread. So that's what we're going to do today. As I said, there is no way that we can save these. And I have in fact got replacements that are a little bit more trick. So I think what we'll do is if we can scrape out this little gasket here around all of them, and then we can slip in our hacksaw blade, we should be able to cut the face off and then hopefully put a chisel on the thread, collapse it and pull them out without causing any damage to that internal thread there. Let's get to it. Right, well, I've managed to cut the cap off, and it's actually a bit more of a sort of fiddly job than you imagine, because the first one wasn't so bad because I already had one of those caps off, but the second one, having two caps on there kind of prevents you from getting a nice straight run on there, so I wasn't sure how to go about it, but I ended up slacking off my hacksaw blade so I could get a little bit of twist in there, and it's gone rather well. I've managed to get them off. Now, the tricky thing here is you've got to sort of put constant pressure towards the outside of the cap so that you're going right against the cap wall like that. otherwise you end up running into the gasket surface, and you don't want to damage your gasket surface. Now, I will hold my hands up and say I have nipped the gasket surface on there. It will be totally fine, to be honest, but you know, if you are coming to do it, that is worth noting. The other thing is you want to keep as much of the thread portion as you can protruding, because next off we're going to try and get a chisel or a punch on there and collapse it. So yeah, if you can keep a bit of a wall around there, then that makes life easier. Now don't be alarmed if you see blood everywhere. I seem to have nicked myself with the hacksaw, and blood is just following me around. I keep finding it places. I'm not badly hurt, and neither is anyone else. It's just a case of the hacksaw went quickly and I just caught my thumb. But anyway, blood, sweat and tears, that's what it's about. Let's get the chisel on there and see if we can collapse those. Right, well, I've successfully removed the caps. Now obviously when I was chiseling that, I had to be really careful again not to destroy that gasket surface, and I think we've got away with it. Yeah, fairly clean operation. Now you can see when I break that up just how brittle this stuff is. It will crumble, and the reason they seize in there is because they've got one, quite a large thread in terms of it goes in quite a way, and two, it's quite a big thing, so you've got a lot of surface area there for it to corrode, and I mean when it gets stuck it will really get stuck. But we've got them out and they'll be ready for my replacements. Obviously these will be getting cleaned out and stripped and all the rest of it, but that will come when we do the engine stuff. So it's been about a week since I filmed the removal of those rocker boxes, and some of you will have seen my post last week to say I'd injured my shoulder and I wasn't able to carry on filming, which was pretty gutting. But the week off did give me some time to reflect, and whilst I was reflecting I thought, well, there's a few fabricational jobs that we need to do, and I'd like to be able to stand back and actually view the bike. So I managed to get this in the back of my dad's Volvo last night and bring it over to the workshop, and for the first time we can actually stand back and have a proper look at it. We can sit on it, or I can sit on it, which is really, really cool. Now, another thing that came to me during my week off was this whole battery tray confusion. Several times I said, right, today we're going to fit the battery tray and the oil tank. Not got round to it. Anyway, that battery tray, with a bit of work, it could be saved, it could be used. Am I going to be getting the same battery size that they put in here from factory? Possibly not, because I have a few specific requirements and I'm not sure where we will end up with that. So I can see no point in sorting out the battery tray until I've worked that out. So we're going to jump straight to it and mount the oil tank. So in theory, bolting the oil tank on should be quite an easy job, but because we're mixing and matching parts from different years, etc., it's not quite that simple. So as you would have seen many times, I've got my chrome oil tank that will hang from two tabs up here. Now I've popped the engine plate on because that's going to show us something quite interesting. If we were to actually bolt this in place where it should go, what we end up with is a position where one of the oil pipes will foul on the engine plate, which is obviously no good. So we need to move the oil tank further back into the frame, but something is stopping it, and that something is our rear mudguard. So what we need to do is mark off the area that is fouling on it. We're going to remove that mudguard, and then we can hopefully beat a small clearing out of it on the sandbag, and then pop it in place, and then we can start having a look at the lower bracket. Right, so I've just finished beating in this little recess here. The difficult thing about that was this mudguard has got a rolled edge on it, which gives it a lot of strength, but my goodness was it hard to unroll. You can probably see that from the size of pipe grips I was using, and that was the only way I could get it off. I tried sort of levering it and stuff like that, and it didn't work. But anyway, I've shaped that up on the sandbag. Obviously I could have just cut that portion out, but I thought it'd be a little bit nicer to try a little bit of metal shaping on aluminium, which is something I'm not used to. So yeah, let's get that bolted back on and we'll see where the oil tank lines up. So the oil tank fits on there nicely, and with room to spare for that little oil pipe, which is great. It also doesn't foul on the mudguard at all anymore, so we won't get any nasty noises from vibration or parts where metal's going to get fatigued from rubbing against each other, stuff like that. Now it comes time to put on that bottom mount so that it's rigid throughout. So originally it had a little mount like this, and that would have a rubber bushing on it, and that goes down there like that. Obviously that's not going to work for this tank. We got a tab here and then a mounting point on the swing arm brace there. So yeah, we need to come up with a little way of mounting those 2 points together. So I've just made a quick little paper template, something like that. We should be able to shape that out of steel, bend it, drill a couple of holes, and pop it straight on there and bolt it up. Hopefully it goes as well as I made that sound. We will have to see. Right, so the bracket is complete. I've also painted it black, and it's come out all right. I've drilled a couple of extra holes in it because I used a thicker bit of steel than what the original one was made out of. So I think there's a little bit of room for doing that and still maintaining strength. Without it, it just kind of looked a bit naff. That should do us. So let's get that bolted on there, and hopefully we can be done with the oil tank for now. Right, so finally we have fitted the oil tank, nice and sturdy like, not in the way of anything, and I'm so pleased to finally have that on there. Again, a big thank you to Brit Steel Classics for supplying me with that. It looks absolutely marvellous. I'm absolutely made up with how the bike is looking. It's really nice to be able to stand back a little bit further here in the workshop and kind of take it all in. Things are really looking pretty good. So yeah, that is going to be all for today. Thank you guys for hanging in there whilst I hurt my shoulder. This video has been a bit of a day of accidents. I've set myself on fire as well, and obviously I nicked my thumb with the hacksaw, so bit of an accident prone week. But anyway, we are nearly at 2,000 subscribers, only a matter of 50 subscribers or so away, so hopefully we can get that before Christmas. Massive thank you to you guys for watching. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait until this is on the road and we can get some riding videos done as well. Next week I think we'll have a look at attaching a front mudguard, because we will need one of those, so stay tuned for that. Again, a massive thank you, and I will see you next time.